or advocate for any one thing. We're here to get your feedback, answer your questions, concerns, anxieties. Maybe you have a great brainstorm, but we're here to help the county get it right. How can you find us? We have an email, which you're welcome to use to email us any questions or thoughts, concerns you might have between now and the end of this process, which could be many years. And I'll tell you the email tonight, and I'll tell you too, you can find it on the Lakeside High School website we're going to put you through a marvelous presentation from beginning to end on the plan, enrollment. Hopefully a lot of questions will be answered in this roughly 30-minute presentation. When they are done, we'll take questions from the audience via note card. We have more note cards we can hand out if you need one. And I have questions here that people have emailed in. So we'll spend the remainder of the evening asking questions and letting the county answer those. One more item of housekeeping. Friday, January 11th will be the next CAC meeting. No officials will be there from the CAB, maybe Mr. Arnold, because he comes to all of our meetings. But if you want to come to the meetings, we have them the third Friday of every month. Is that right? 7:30 in the morning, usually at Oak Grove Church, because there's no parking at Lakeside. So, with that said, I'm going to hand it over to the CAB and take it away.
Again, my name is Richard Boyd. I just want to thank everybody for coming out. All right. Is this better?
Yes.
All right. So again, my name is Richard Boyd. I just want to thank everybody for coming out, and we're just going to do a quick presentation. Go ahead, Lee. All right. So the things we're going to talk about today, we're just going to go over some of the stats on the project. We'll talk about what we've been doing and future activities. We'll also talk about the enrollment projections. We'll review the feasibility study, a preliminary schedule, and then, as Kelly said, the majority of this will be for questions. Go ahead. And I just want to apologize for the go-ahead and hand signals. I was told that the remote was broken and another one is on order. So we're having to do this old style. All right, go ahead, Lee. So stats for the project. This is a classroom addition and a turf replacement. So the football field that I know has had some issues over the past several years will get artificial turf. Mr. Brian Albanese is your project manager. He was the project manager on the Henderson Middle School project. Mr. Lee Kane is our regional project manager, and Mr. Kane is actually the one controlling the projector for us. Again, our architect is Perkins & Will, one of the top firms in Atlanta. And our project budget, and this is construction number only, this is not the total budget, $21,592,000. Go ahead, Lee. So some of the items that we've been working on, we've had a traffic study that was completed last month, and that has been posted on the website. We have a boundaries survey that was completed just last week. We've had Perkins & Will complete their feasibility study, and that was sent to Principal Bounds and the CAC last week as well. Currently, we have a geotechnical firm that is on schedule to do borings the weeks between Christmas and New Year's, and that report will be complete in January. We're having ongoing conversations with the Cap County roads to talk about the recommendation for the roadway improvements. We've also been talking with both DEMA, GEMA, DeKalb Fire Department, and DeKalb Police Department about some of the concerns with emergency access. What we need to do next, we have to finalize the program, which is basically mean we need to meet with the school and the teachers and staff here and talk about the classrooms and what each of those need to be. And then once that program is finalized and distributed, we'll start with the schematic design drawings, which is the first phase of the drawings that will be used for the contract. All right, Mr. Drake is going to talk about enrollment.
All right, thank you, Richard. As Katie talked about, certain folks are getting sick, and one of my key staff, Director of Planning, Hans Williams, was supposed to be giving this piece, so I will be giving it for him tonight. Let's see. All right, Lakeside High School grew steeply in enrollment from before fall of 2011 to reaching a peak enrollment of 2,184 students in the fall of 2016. Since then, since the fall of 2016, Lakeside has been decreasing enrollment in the fall of 2017 as well as this year, 2018. This fall, Lakeside had enrollment of 2,111 students. Lakeside High School is forecasted to continue to have generally decreasing enrollment from fall of 2019 to fall of 2025. And that last number, if you can't read that last number at the very far right, it says 1,945. Next slide. All right, the addition to Lakeside High School was planned in 2016 using a forecast by MGT of America based on enrollment up to fall of 2015. At that time, that is in the fall of 2015, the enrollment at all levels of the Lakeside cluster was up. Based on that growth trend, the MGT forecast showed a drastic increase in enrollment up to 2,619 students in the fall of 2022. So at that time, our 7-year forecast was only up to 2022. What we've seen since then is that the growth in high school, the growth at Lakeside High School peaked in the fall of 2016 and has since declined. The new DCSD November 2018 forecast for Lakeside now projects enrollment of 2,047 students in fall of 2022, with enrollment continuing to fall after that. Next slide. We have Okay. We have spent considerable time looking at what has changed since 2015 and how the district can be sure to catch whatever MGT missed in its forecast. For the Lakeside cluster, the key factor we have identified is rents. The average rent in the Lakeside cluster, shown here as a blue line, you see the blue line going up, has been growing since before 2011, but in 2016 crossed a threshold that we have seen across the district. After average rent increases past $1 per square foot, which is that black horizontal line on the graph, we see enrollment at the district schools begin to drop. This is across the district. For the Lakeside cluster, this happened in 2016, and as you can see, the orange bars representing enrollment by year suddenly go from sharply growing to sharply falling. In addition to now tracking the housing market in the Lakeside cluster, we are also looking at new construction. While we do see a lot of new construction, the nearly 200 new construction units over the next 4 years, the type of construction, mostly townhomes and condos, and the high price point does not lend itself to large growth of students. Matter of fact, we would forecast these 200 units to increase enrollment at Lakeside by less than 20 students. Next slide. Based on the district's new November 2018 forecast of less than 20,000 students by 2025, it is now recommended that the size of the addition at Lakeside High School be reduced from a 750-seat, 38-classroom addition to a 335-seat, 17-classroom addition. This would put Lakeside High School at a comfortable 92% of capacity in fall of 2025. Additionally, while the original planning for this project in 2016 assumed some redistricting to relieve Lakeside, based on the new forecast, no redistricting will be needed to serve Lakeside students. At this point, I'm going to turn over to Barbara Crone, who Perkins and Will, who will come over and talk about the feasibility schedule, feasibility study, and the schedule.
Thank you, Dan. I have to thank you all. We've had a really wonderful time sort of putting this together. We've interviewed the CAC, we've interviewed faculty, we've interviewed students. And interestingly enough, everybody has said the same thing. there's a real consistency. And what impressed me most was how the students represented the faculty. They were very concerned with the faculty and the faculty spaces, much more so than their spaces. So whatever you're doing here is really right because it feels like a family. So thank you for the opportunity to deal with everybody. A lot of this input sort of drove our feasibility study. And basically, as I think Richard and Dan have said, the feasibility study really was to address where to put an addition on the site. Is it feasible to do? Could you do it? And we found, in fact, it was. We found with the civil engineer studied the storm and sanitary sewer, and
Laura, can you please speak up?
okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Better.
Okay, go ahead. Basically, we had the civil engineer, we went to the fire department, we talked to everybody we could to make sure the site could stand the added addition. Basically, the civil engineer found the storm and the sanitary systems absolutely could. The fire marshal we met with, that we do have access to fire and emergency vehicles on site, so that was good. And then we looked at, where to put this building and what we should do with it. And as I think Richard said to you, we all agreed that the program would be 17 new classrooms, 17 instructional units, learning spaces, and they would replace the trailers and they would address the issue of the floating teachers. And interestingly, the teachers talked to us about having parts in their classrooms, and the students very much said the same thing, that those teachers needed spaces. Did you switch? Thank you, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, thanks, Lee. To address it, it is really not adding capacity, it's addressing the floating teachers and it's addressing the trailers. It's really solving the needs that are here right now to service the number of students. And when we looked at this, we decided one of the other things we've heard a lot of conversation about from all three groups we talked to, the CAC, the students, and the faculty, the number of faculty, was the issue of sort of crowdedness and congestion in the corridors. And we talked about what could we do to sort of deal with this. We can't really open up the corridors, their walls, but we talked about if we could spread functions out and spread students out, it would take some of the heat off the places here. So we decided maybe one of the major things to do was figure out if we could move the media center into the new addition and really move a new center of the school. And we also talked about opening up the stairwells. The stairwells were too small. So we talked about sort of redistributing the circulation and opening up the school. So you'll see we talked about moving the media center into the new building and then making space where the media center is for functions that are crowded in this building, sort of dealing with the overcrowding. Can you all hear me?
Oh, you need to turn the amplifier up or something.
Hold it closer.
Hold it closer, is that better? All right, okay, sorry. What I was saying is, universally, from every group we talked to, we heard the issue of congestion and crowding in the school. And to address that, and looking at the feasibility, we thought the best thing we could do is try and locate more students in more dispersed places and try and give some extra space in this building to spread out administrators, to spread out counselors, and to open up the circulation. And you'll see in our plan how we sort of address that. We also, the issue of parking came up from everybody, and traffic from every group we talked to. And part of the plan is to increase the parking and build a parking deck. And we looked at where was the right place for that. And as Richard said to you, part of the other scope of the work is the turf field, taking the field out there and turning it into synthetic turf so you can use it year-round. Next one, please. And so when we looked at where to put this addition and what to do with it, we decided, to us it made a tremendous amount of sense to locate a two-story classroom addition, or two-story addition on the west side of the site. It does take out some parking, but that parking and more would be replaced in the deck. And basically to us it seemed that you could really put something here and redistribute some of the activity of the school. The other thing in this scheme, in the whole expansion, is to expand the cafeteria. So part of the scheme is to expand the cafeteria, redo the plaza between the cafeteria and the new addition, and we are proposing putting the media center in the new addition and really activating that plaza. The students love that courtyard, they like hanging out there, and they were very enthusiastic about the idea of really activating that corridor with as much stuff as that courtyard, with as many functions around it as we could. Can you all hear me? Okay? So you'll see that we're proposing the classroom on the west side of the site, the classroom building, and we're proposing on the east side of the site, the parking deck. And the reason we put the parking deck over there is it's the lowest part of the site and would be the most inconspicuous. You can put it over there, it doesn't hover over the neighborhood, it's hidden by the trees, and you really would probably not see a lot of it from the road. So we thought this was really the most sensitive thing to the site. It doesn't take out any of your athletic fields. It does take out, I think, 70-some places that we have accounted for in the deck, plus some other places. We still, when this is done, I think have about 135, 140 on-grade parking spaces. So we're not taking all the on-grade spaces out at all. But it seemed to us by spreading activities across the site, you really begin to deal with the congestion. All right, next slide, please. And this is really just to show you sort of this is very conceptual. This is sort of just to get a result from the feasibility study, to show you what we were thinking. We're thinking of putting that media center on the ground floor of the new addition, so that it opens to the courtyard and the cafeteria opens to the courtyard. And there's really even the possibility of doing a new front door. We could develop some way of coming into that courtyard in the morning and begin to take some of the heat off the front door now. And again, disperse the traffic in the morning. So you'll see that. And then on the you'll also see there, we're proposing in the old media center space, putting some classrooms, but also putting some administrative and counseling space. One of the things we saw as we walked around is the counselors in closets, various administrators taking over storage rooms. They've sort of made do with what they can. And we thought if we could centralize some of those administrators that kids come to on the main corridor, it would facilitate that too. So you'll see that's the bottom floor there. We also, the orange you'll see in the new building, we are proposing putting administrators in the new building. The orange is administration, the blue is the classrooms, and the light orange is shared facilities. And then on the upper level, you'll see, the next slide please. The upper level is pretty much classrooms. Basically, that's your classrooms. And to account for the 17 classrooms, I think we have 1 on the first floor in the new addition, 13 on the top floor, and then 3 in the existing building. And as Richard said to you, the next thing we really will do is go back to the faculty and Mr. Bounds and talk about what you want to put out there. Are they science rooms? Are they regular classrooms? What kind of classrooms you want in the new building and what we want to do with the existing ones in this building. And then the last thing I was just going to talk about very briefly is the schedule, sort of to show you, and it just sort of shows you a time frame and sort of the amount of time each of these activities will take. And basically, we're looking at a 10 month design schedule, which includes programming, which is going back and deciding really which pieces of the puzzle go where, then doing the schematic design where we really develop the plans, do elevations, do sections, really have a look at the building, begin to define all the systems, the mechanical and electrical systems. Then we go to design development for the next 3.5 months. And that's really developing all that, meeting with the users group, defining all the systems, drawing all the cabinetry in every classroom, doing the lights, doing much more stuff, and then doing the construction drawings for a 4-month period, which is really the drawings the contractor can do. Then we see a period of bidding and permitting, and then construction. So that's sort of the basic overall time frame of duration of what it takes to do it. And really, in summary, again, I am so grateful to having been able to work with you guys, and I want to continue to do it. It's a wonderful family of Lakeside High School that has been really rich to work with, and wonderful things that you all care about each other. But just to reiterate that we see that this is a very, very feasible project, and we think it will really answer some of your issues with congestion and crowding by spreading the kids out on the campus. And I think that the courtyard could be a terrific amenity if we really enliven it with, as Dr. Brown says, a learning commons, not the old-timey media center, but a real learning commons, and really with the cafeteria and learning commons, which are sort of the socialization places, and make a really special space at that end of the campus. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. So that concludes the presentation by the county. If you all have questions that you would like to write on your note cards, CAC members will wander around and get them from you. I can see some hands going on. While that's going on, I'm going to start with the questions that I have here that were sent to me by email, but I'm just going to give everybody a minute, first of all, to digest and write a few questions, and then we'll kick back off. Okay, I'll start with the first one. First question is, how will on-campus vehicular traffic be improved by this expansion? According to your facility educational adequacy guide, bus, parent, and service lanes are off-street and do not conflict with playground or parking areas. There's adequate covered bus loading for general and special ed near entrances to the building. This is not the case at Lakeside currently and needs to be addressed. Buses and parent vehicles park directly on Briarcliff Road during and after afternoon dismissal. Some parents arrive 45 minutes prior to dismissal to wait for students. Students are observed sprinting to cars at dismissal in an attempt to get out of the parking lot. Covered bus loading is inadequate. The asphalt drive from the 2012 project is already falling apart. There's no separate parent parking carpool lane on campus that doesn't interfere with parking. So that's one little question, but essentially sounds like how are we going to handle the flow?
All right, can you hear me? Yeah. All right, so as far as the traffic, our ideal for our schools is that we have a separate bus loading and a carpool lane. And we are actually, one of the nice things is we go through this whole progressive design process. We go from schematic to design development. So we can start looking at this. And then we've gone through our first piece, which is the feasibility part that Ms. Brown has done. And we will be looking at those very details about whether we can separate and reorient how the bus parking and the carpool lanes are being done. We did have a traffic study that looked at the existing conditions, just so that we understand that's part of the feasibility. But we'll probably bring another go around in that traffic study after Perkins will have some time to get some more input from the CAC on some of these issues, specifically this. But it's one thing that I know Barbara's specifically looking at. We've had discussions about some of the parking that's in the front, if that needs to be relocated into the garage, and these other items that we're looking at. So we are looking for, we hear loud and clear, we share that same sentiment, that we need to be looking at separating the traffic or the carpool lanes from the bus lanes.
Will the marching band still have to practice in a parking lot? Is the parking deck just for teachers? If the parking garage is on the lower lot, where will the marching band practice? They use that lot for practice.
Can you go one at a time on that?
Will the band still have to practice in a parking lot, the marching band? So the question is, where will the marching band practice if there's a parking garage down here?
We've talked about, again, that's one of the things we've looked at as far as the current location for the band practices in that parking lot. One of the things we talk about is can the band park, or can they practice in the top level of the parking garage? We've even talked about, okay, if that's the case, there will be some type of system to get some of the heavier equipment up there. So we've thought through some of that stuff. So that's still part of our discussion, as part of our review, going to the next phase into the schematic designs. Next question, next section, part of the question.
How do Perkins and Whale and DCSD perceive the impact of traffic on student achievement at Lakeside? Late buses, late car riders, and late teachers, particularly first period classes.
Thank you very much for that question. We certainly know that each year, the Lakeside cluster being our largest cluster, we do have situations where we have to reanalyze our bus situation and reroute buses to make sure they do get here on time. We will, of course, continue to look at that as issues pop up. Our regional transportation manager goes back and makes adjustments accordingly. That's not to say that there are unique circumstances where we have delays or set aside for individual roads, whatever the case may be. But when we start noticing a pattern, there's a consistent route that's late over and over and over again. Thankfully, we have parents who do reach out to myself, who's got our transportation department, our transportation manager for the region, Fernando Brown, and we do everything we can make appropriate adjustments up to changing route schedules, splitting routes, getting additional buses, whatever the case may be.
I'd like to add one other thing. So the enrollment at Lakeside High School peaked 2 years ago, okay? And so we're going to have just the same amount of students or less students that we have today. We'll have 60 more parking spaces We'll have hopefully improved facility or our entrances as we work with the county and the recommendations to get in and out. So I would contend that the existing condition that we have out there today will get better based on the fact that this addition is happening, because we'll have all students in classrooms, we'll have the adequate number of parking spaces, and we'll have improved entrances, entry and exit from the campus based on these recommended.
I'm trying to kind of organize these together. So the next question is, will there be any kind of access to and from Oak Grove Road?
We have talked about emergency access on Oak Grove, the emergency access only. There will not, there's no discussion right now, so we're working with the fire marshal's office, with DEMA, our partners, on some type of emergency access there.
Also, I got a quick note here. I understand Jeff Rader and Stan Jester are both in attendance, our Commissioner and Board of Education members. So if you just raise your hand. I know that people, yes, thank you both for coming. We appreciate it, and there are a lot of traffic questions, so. All right. Why is the Cobb County School System not pursuing the #1 recommendation by the consultants to the district to redistrict the entire district before spending money on expansions to the existing schools?
We went through a whole process under the building, the secondary school feasibility study. We went through a whole process there, and we heard loud and clear from the Lakeside cluster as a whole that they did not want redistricting. So that's why we moved forward with the plan that was fully supported by the Lakeside cluster.
Okay, I've got several cards on this, and I received several emails about it as well. A big issue is the natatorium pool, which is a possibility to include that in the scope of work.
We all agree that the Lakeside pool needs work. That is not part of this project, and will not be part of. It won't be the project in a negative or positive way. There was discussion by the community, by the Lakeside community, about having possibly that pool being pulled out. That's not part of this plan. That's the negative side. There's, well, the positive side, as far as any improvements to that pool will not be paid out of this lost project, but could be, we'll have to look at some other type of funding source for that.
Will the DeKalb County School System commit to take any steps required to ensure that enrollment at Lakeside will fall below 2,000 in 2025 and at no time be allowed to exceed the stated capacity of 2131?
I do not believe we have any of those powers.
Glasses on, glasses off. There are a lot of questions here, and I'm trying to just be fair and equitable. While the proposed additions look nice, they take up what little space is left on campus. Sorry, Martin, again, I already asked that one. According to your data, the CAP school system has 509 students who travel 6 to 7 miles a day to get to school. Of those, 321 of them go to Lakeside. This expansion will doom those students to continue being bused. Why does the CAP think this is the best interest of students and their families?
Again, I think we answered that one before about redistricting.
Okay. How will ambulances access the football field with placement of the new deck?
I'm sure that we're going to have to keep the road around there. I mean, we conceptually just put it on there, but we're going to keep access behind it, around the side of behind the deck.
Will others be allowed to view the construction architectural plans before final decisions are made?
Again, this is the beauty of the CAC process, is that we have a committee where we are able to release documents to get out to the community, get input, and bring it back. At every step of the process, including the feasibility study which was released last Wednesday, that's out in the public. Next step will be the same process as you go through to manage
summarize the traffic report recommendations and road changes that are being considered or that were suggested.
I'll have Abby from A&R who will do a quick synopsis of it. A&R is the firm that did the traffic study.
So we did the traffic study, and we took into account only, AM school peak times, the dismissal period between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and then as well as the PM rush hour when everyone's coming back home. We made 2 recommendations for DeKalb County Transportation to consider. One of them were mostly off campus. One of the main recommendations we made for school traffic in general was to install left turn lane at the parking lot where the students park. Yeah, LaGuardia. And we did see a major issue with traffic turning left into the school, holding up traffic trying to go through. A police officer is there existing. That was kind of, is it an everyday thing?
It's not there anymore.
At all?
At all.
Intermittent? No. The day that we did collect data, there was a police officer there, but now it's not every day now. Yeah, police officer can only do so much. There's not a lot that you can do except, try and accommodate the traffic. It's only during a very short amount of time during the day. So if a police officer isn't there every day, then it kind of doesn't really work that way.
Even with the police officer present, the score still failed. So what that signifies is that certainly there's a need there that's been shared not only with the school district but also as part of our report that's gone out. And I know that there's been conversations with the county government as well around this. There are other locations in the report that are, as mentioned, off-site and on campus that were addressed. They went all the way up to Charlotte and Shalford, I think, and that intersection is for them, if I remember correctly. But they did do this analysis looking at 3 different peak times and recognize that, like we noted, even with that police officer there, that's still enough. What's necessary to improve that, what their recommendation is the turn lane. But that takes the collaboration between the school district and the county government. And I know that operations, that most people in bands we have, they jump in, they're in conversations around this, and they are doing as part of the process as we go about this feasibility study.
So we have been meeting with DeKalb County Traffic, Patrice Keeter and her team for months, and most recently this past week to discuss the issues as well as the recommendations that came out of the traffic study. So one of the things that I think would be helpful from the community is to make the concerns known to Commissioner Rader and other elected officials over DeKalb County that some of these improvements would be a partnership between the county and the county school district would be really helpful as we both look at what recommendations are needed and who can actually perform those recommendations.
We're thankful for Commissioner Rader being here today to hear these concerns, participating in this process, and again, we're working collaboratively with them. That study did take analysis of sites in front of the school as well as around the surrounding area, down by our lake. There were several concerns, but we are in conversations with the county government on this, and we'll address those and do all we can to help alleviate this concern.
There were, a lot of traffic out, but that is a huge concerns for Lakeside community. This one is, can you show the drawing rendition from Perkinsville at the Media Center and Courtyard? And we actually do have those here, and we'll flip them around before the evening is over, so you can come up and have a closer look at what was shown up here on the PowerPoint. So question, how is adding 3 classrooms on the main corridor decreasing traffic for students? Not that many students currently use the Media Center. Have you considered that?
We will consider that. We certainly will consider that if that is more congestion. Basically, they ask for more classrooms in proximity to some of the other classrooms. So it may end up that we put those classrooms more in the new building and put more administrative stuff in there. That really is what Richard was talking about programming. You know, to sit down with the user group, to sit down with the faculty, the principal, and really see what needs to go where. It had to do with adjacencies and proximity of various courses. So it's a very good point. It does not improve congestion. We certainly wouldn't put it there. We certainly would like to put offices and some of the administrative spaces in that area, counseling, as I said.
Okay, a lot of parking garage questions. Flow in and out of the parking deck can back up and be congested. So how many entrances and exits are planned? Is there a minimum number of spaces for a high school this size to have a parking deck? Will there be an elevator? Are you considering a 4th level?
I will pass it off to Marlon, but what I will say, we do have a parking deck in the Gap County School District at Tucker High School right now. It is utilized. It does have a singular entrance in and out. It's used by both staff and students, and I would encourage, like to see how parking deck sort of blends in with a school. To go over and take a look at it as far as the additional differences and how that might look like.
Yeah, I'd say at this point, we don't really have answers to those questions because we're not at that point yet. Again, this is the feasibility. Once we get to schematic design, that's when we'll start working with the CAC very closely. It's important that we get these comments, that the CAC gets these comments, so as when we initiate that discussion with them about the parking deck, how many levels and how many entrances and the band and all that, that we really get the input from the community and we can address that in our next round in the schematic design process.
And just to add what Dan said, we will have a parking consultant who does this all the time. We'll lay out the deck and lay out the traffic numbers and ins and outs and all that. And as he says, it will be presented to the parking consultant as part of the team who is really not drawing anything else.
More traffic, more traffic. Was the Globe campus included in the study? What is the impact of the Globe campus? And if you did the study on only one day, is that accurate? Do we need a study with more data points?
I'll start with the last one. I mean, traffic studies are typically done in one time slice. It's standard practice for that to happen. We make sure that we have it on certain days. That we with a typical peak day, and that was done through A&R. Make sure they have those days. As far as low, were they included in the studies? Is that the question?
I'm looking here.
I think the issue is that the Globe has moved to a new location, and that's impacting the traffic on Briarcliff.
Okay, so that's their new church location you're talking
Yes.
The
about?
Globe has 2 locations. One has 500 students, one has 400, and they bookend Lakeside. So we have 400 up here and 500 down here.
I mean, the traffic counts were done. The traffic counts would have included any of Globe's traffic at that particular time, because they were open at that time. And let me say one thing about Globe, because Globe has been part of this. One of the things that the feasibility study did look at, because we had some discussions with Globe about them wanting to purchase their property, the district-owned property, and so there's some confusion about that. So we discussed with Globe and said we were going to wait until the feasibility study is now we're ready to reinitiate our discussions with them at this point. There's no, there was some discussion about whether the Globe's campus that we own would be taken over for Lakeside High School, and that is not part of this feasibility study. It's concrete is not required.
All right, another question about the actual number of classrooms that you have designated for the plan. We have 17 new classrooms for this wing, and they're asking if we have 11 people in trailers and 11 floaters roughly. How does that math work out?
Again, so the number of students that we have right now will go down by the time this opens. That's a small piece of it. But more importantly is that this will take care of the 11 classrooms, and it will address to some extent, if not full extent, the floating teachers. There still may be some floating, but there may not be. It all depends on what the enrollment is at that time. But it will definitely reduce the floating that is happening currently today.
How many trees will be cut down and how much impermeable surface will be added?
Those are too many details that we have not even looked at. Again, that's as we get further and further into our design process.
And I have actually a few questions in here about the watershed.
Actually, one second.
I was actually thinking about this earlier today. We're not really adding too much impermeable surface anywhere because the current schematic is to have the addition where the parking lot is and a parking deck where a parking lot already is. The only trees that I would envision being removed is if we do connect to Oak Grove Road as for emergency access up that hill, out that way.
Sorry, y'all, we're just shuffling through a lot of cards, so we're trying to get it right. Will the chronic maintenance deficiencies that are unrelated to the approved splosh expansion within the existing facility of Lakeside be addressed? Renovations to the pool, hallways, stairwells, the main part of the building.
We have about $2 billion worth of needs throughout the district, and we have only about $500 million of SPLOST funds, and maintenance is an issue here at Lakeside High School as well as across the district. The maintenance issues that are in the school are not and will not be part of the SPLOST project. This SPLOST project is for the addition to the high school. Does not negate the fact that we do have maintenance issues here at this facility that we need to be looking at.
This one's probably for you, Barbara. How will you fix the cramped hallways and stairwells? Is there only one hallway connecting the old to the new wing?
Right now, the wings would connect outside. It would be an outdoor connection, but we sort of make it indoor. Our approach to the stairwells, when we looked at them, they are adjacent to classrooms or a bunch of offices, and our thought was we could deal with taking part of those classrooms and part of those offices and enlarge the stairwells. And once you enlarge the stairwells, kids are much more likely to go up and down and move through the halls. Part of that is we may have to replace some of those classrooms or rework some of the interiors of it. Basically, we very much want to enlarge all of those hallways because all of those stairwells, the hallways are hard to enlarge because there's concrete block walls and lockers and everything else, but we can enlarge the stairways.
Can we build a walking bridge over the swamp wetlands to allow more student walkability from Briar Lake, or build a road to connect the deck to Briar Lake?
We could work in partnership with that private property owner who owns that property, and if that's something they want to do, we would greatly appreciate that, but that's our private property.
The 2008 financial recession caused a decrease in private school enrollment in Atlanta. How can you ensure enrollment will continue to decrease despite any future recession?
We're discussing enrollment predictions are just that, they're predictions. A lot of it depends on various factors that we take into consideration, and everything's sort of holding steady right now. I mean, we certainly wouldn't want to see another situation like we had in 2008 with the recession, but that certainly had a major impact on enrollment patterns, projections, predictions for future enrollment, and so forth. So when we discuss enrollment, we're upfront and honest. It is a prediction, but we certainly base our prediction on current numbers and what we're seeing based on approved methodologies and data that's collected.
And I'll say one thing. One thing we do is we do track all of our private school enrollment, and I'll say this based on what we've seen, students coming in and out of private schools based on the economy, the much greater impact is these rising rents in this area than any type of impact that we'll see on these private school students coming in and out of the system. And those rising rents driving enrollment down.
The newly released projections show that Lakeside will not drop below 2,000 until 2025, 3 years after the completion of an addition. This suggests that the school will be over capacity when completed, and that's assuming this big decline holds true. If not, we will be right back where we are today. Can you explain?
Can you repeat the last part of those numbers?
3 years after the proposed completion of an addition, this suggests the school will be over capacity when completed, and that is assuming that this big decline will hold true. If not, we will be right back where we are today. Can you explain?
Yeah, our capacity that we're proposing is 2131, and it won't be over capacity at any time, according to any of the projections that we have at this point. And that's, in fact, if we had all the students today, we wouldn't be over capacity.
A new wing creates multiple more doors to secure, and unlike other lakeside additions, is detached from the main building. Will we have guarantee the school will be provided an SRO to be stationed there? Will the new building have a vestibule like the new DeKalb County schools are being equipped with?
It definitely will have a vestibule. We also envision that it'll be fenced, that you can't walk right into that courtyard. There will be some gateway through the school into that courtyard that will be fenced off to deal with the security. So it offers a new front door, but you have to go through the building to get in.
This is about the gym space. The original Lakeside gym was built for a 1,500 student school. Fulton says 1,800 student schools need another gym. How can our gym accommodate this many students?
Again, if you look at the state standards, our gym will satisfy state standards. One of the things that we're doing with our new high schools, when we get above a certain level, we are looking at adding an auxiliary gym, but that's not something we're looking at right now for our additions and stuff. So that's something we are looking at as we start building new high schools moving forward. Yes, the new crossings high school.
Are the stairwell enlargements included in the construction budget?
Yes.
What's being done to maintain and enforce Lakeside's attendance to those living inside the attendance zone and those who are approved to attend by the county?
The district does have set attendance policies relative to students that live within the district, but it also does have allowances for various reasons for students that may live outside of the district and live in Lakeside. We have taken a look at those numbers in the past and worked with the school leadership to address any concerns. However, we do, as I noted before, have allowances for students that may attend that don't live in the attendance zone. So those allowances are governed by federal law, some of them are governed by board policy, some of them are governed by state law. But we do ensure that all those laws are being followed as required and that we meet those expectations. And we do have that enrollment.
We really couldn't hear pretty much all of that. It was really hard to hear that.
Okay. I'll repeat it one time again real quickly. We do recognize that there are enrollment allowances for each school and their attendance zone, but in each school there are situations where students that do and perhaps may live outside of the attendance zone do attend that school. For example, you have teachers that are allowed to bring their children to the school where they attend, so those students do get to come to the school. We also are governed by, that's of course governed by board policy and state law. We also have federal laws that allow for students that to attend that live outside the attendance zone. The Kitty-Vento Act is allowed for students who are considered homeless to attend the school. So we do recognize that there is data that does substantiate the point that there are students that live outside the attendance zone that do attend Lakeside, but in all those cases, those are appropriate situations and governed by the laws and board policies that we follow.
Thank you.
Let's see, if 21.6 million was adequate for 750 seats, please discuss why the scope can't now include the pool, given that the number of seats is roughly cut in half.
Again, one of the things that we do with our projects is we design projects not by the budget but by the scope. The scope of the project is for the addition that's needed for the high school. And so any of the non-addition items are just not part of this, and that'd be part of a maintenance issue that we need to look at separately.
So I have a personal follow-up question. What will the extra funds go towards? Because we obviously won't be building as big of an expansion.
The extra funds, if you're assuming some extra funds come out of the project,
Well, the original budget was for 750 seats, and we reduced that, so there'll be extra budget dollars. How will those be spent?
I'm not sure if there, again, I wouldn't even assume at this point there would be any extra budget dollars at this point. With construction costs going up, we're not exactly sure. We're in the middle of doing an analysis of all of our SPOS projects, and once we get that done, we'll know and see which projects need money, which projects have some money that can be sent to other projects. So we're still in the middle of that process. I wouldn't assume that there's any extra money in this project at this point. Hasn't been confirmed yet.
Briarcliff Road has no shoulder and no sidewalk. Briarcliff Road is already too narrow to accommodate present traffic. Do you have plans to widen Briarcliff Road and build sidewalks? Is that part of your discussion?
Yeah, we have no plans. Again, it's a partnership with DeKalb County. DeKalb County would have to implement all of these improvements. We have initiated that discussion with them. In our discussions with them, we've talked about turn lanes. We have not talked about adding any through lanes or any additional width to that road. It would be nice if it could, but again, that's CATS has their SPOS funds, and a lot of it's already allocated, and so it's a beginning discussion. But to answer the question, I would say really at this point there's no discussion right now with DeKalb County about adding through lanes or sidewalks at this point. Doesn't mean that we cannot add it. It's just we have to find out what the most critical items are. For right now, those are turn lanes into our side.
Who has studied the effect of the proposed expansion on student learning and the student experience? Has anyone studied the effect of the previous 2012 and current proposed expansions on student learning and student experience?
I'm not sure how the student experience piece is being defined, so that may need some clarification. We certainly have leadership here from the school who can speak to the experiences of the students. One thing that I can say, working with Principal Bounds and the outstanding teachers and school teachers, Jordan, I know that there's an increased level of school pride and focus on academics and achievements, athletics, all sorts of programs. I think the school is going in upward trajectory. I know for a fact that its graduation rate is exceeding the state average, it's increasing test scores with all sorts of programs. So probably looking at a little bit more clarity on how that experience is defined. But I do think that the school's leadership and teachers here will certainly attest to the outstanding work that they're doing to support the students and provide quality education.
A lot's riding on your enrollment numbers. Do you have values on the range of uncertainty on your projections, and can you present them?
We do not have uncertainty values. It's definitely one thing that we're looking at to add in our model as we move forward. But just generally, the uncertainty is much greater in the outer years as they are in the closer years.
Currently, DeKalb County police officers do not have cards to allow them access to the school if it's on lockdown. Will this project incorporate a way for first responders to be able to access any of the locked doors during a lockdown?
Assuming by DeKalb County, the DeKalb County School System Public Safety?
It says DeKalb County police officers.
We have law enforcement from DeKalb County. I'll answer from the standpoint of public safety unless one of our SROs want to come up. We do have SROs that do have police vehicles that can respond if necessary. We do have situations that arise. We're able to send those units to the appropriate location. Of course, with our high schools and middle schools, we already have an SRO on site. All of these individuals are, of course, post-certified. So they do respond when appropriate. Maybe Rutland, did you want to respond at all? I don't know if it's representing DeKalb County. Questions, I think all your officers have a built-in SWAT car.
Yes, the DeKalb County Police all have take-home vehicles now, so we do have an ability to get here. And once we got here, there was some type of threat or situation. Our first contact was with the school resource officer. They would get us into anywhere that we needed to go.
Will this project go through even if the county doesn't redo the roads? And can Mr. Rader speak to the likelihood of road changes in the area?
Only matter of time.
Again, we hope we have a partnership with the county on this. And you know, the board has approved this, and so yes, I would assume this would go through without, even if the county wasn't able to provide any additional resources to this project.
Okay, as you know, our primary resource for transportation at this point is the special purpose local option sales tax. And there are currently no funds dedicated to this type of capacity or intersection improvement in this part of the county. As it relates to a partnership on this, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, if that's simply the county will take care of those issues. I can't make a commitment that those resources would be available until and if they were committed in a subsequent iteration of our special purpose local option sales tax. So at this point, I'm interested to see, obviously our transportation staff is receptive to the input and to identification of issues by the school system and their transportation plan for the facility, but we don't have money set aside to do these types of improvements at this point in time.
Another question I think has been asked, but maybe hasn't been answered. Will the county commit to providing an SRO for the new addition?
Our current allotments is one SRO for high school and one for middle school. Unless that allotment changes, we will have one here at the site.
I definitely have a lot of traffic questions. I also have a lot of athletic facility questions, pool questions. So how do you justify replacing a perfectly good media center with SPOS money, but you refuse to replace a physical education facility that's old and in chronic failure and disrepair? The pool serves multiple schools, not just Lakeside. More about pool updates. And athletic team participation at Lakeside is 9%. That's 1/3 of statewide average participation, which is 30%. What will be done to prevent participation from getting even worse?
As far as the media center, the proposed relocation of the media center to the outside was one idea that we proposed. It doesn't have to be the idea, but it's one idea that we're looking at for looking at the flow of students throughout the building. That's one of the reasons, that was the main driver of that. And again, Barbara, we can talk a little bit about that, and I think that's a key piece to that. But there's input from the CACs that, you know, as we go further into this design process, that the media center may be better inside, all that, we can go through that process. So again, it's just our initial kickoff point for that piece.
Some questions about emergency response. Who is studying how emergency responders will get here in an active shooter situation with our narrow lanes and unique geography, and what is that projected response time?
So DeKalb County responds to calls in 3 different priorities for the police department. Priority 1 is an immediate life-threatening nature. Priority 2 is a call that requires us to be on scene as soon as possible. And priority 3 is a call of routine or less serious nature. Obviously, an active shooter would be a priority 1 call. So we would go lights and siren. And having done that myself in this area, yes, it can be a little hairy when there is congestion, but people will yield and move over.
Okay, question, is it a conflict of interest to ask the firm to do a feasibility study when that same firm, Perkins and Will, stands to benefit financially when the project is approved?
That puts me on the spot. Basically, I think it's part of every project. Every project DeKalb County does, every project Atlanta Public Schools does, the first thing you're asked to do is a feasibility study. And in this one, in fact, the feasibility study, the classroom number went from 38 to 17. So, it became smaller. It was a much bigger project when we started. But you're asked to make sure what the project is and what works best. So it is part of the process.
So while you have the microphone, Barbara, will the plaza have a roof, walls on two sides, old building, new building, and fences on both ends?
We certainly are thinking in terms of fences, but again, this is something that I would look to you all for the input, for the CAC and to the user group of how much of it you want enclosed.
I have another question in this giant heap about how the kids could get out in an emergency, like a fire. I mean, I assume that that's something that.
Same way, you have panic hardware on any fence or panic hardware on any door that lets you know.
Would it be possible to do a survey monkey to get broader school community input, particularly between students and staff? The CAC can do that, yes, that's for us. Oh, that's, sorry. Waiting through these. Can you explain how the demographic projections are made and why they dropped significantly since February of 2018?
Again, the big change over the last 3 years, again, the affordable housing and the increasing rents that we're seeing across the district, and we're seeing it especially here in the Lakeside area, Pleasantdale, Sagamore, and the Hawthorne areas. Specifically, we're seeing rising rents.
To architect, what programmatic feasibility study did you do? There's no mention of it in the summary.
Do you mean in terms of this project or other projects?
I don't know, doesn't specify, but probably in terms of this one.
Do you mind doing it one more time?
Sure. What programmatic feasibility study did you do? There's no mention of it in the summary.
We probably, when we program, will decide what goes in this building. We were instructed that there were a certain number of classroom units that were going to be added, so we didn't really do a whole program for the whole school. It was not part of our scope. At this point, what goes in those 17 classrooms or what goes in those 17 instructional units, whether they be classrooms or something different, or CTE suites or whatever, will be determined in the programming phase. Exactly.
Students struggle to get from the current new addition to classes in other parts of the building and often forego bathroom breaks, resulting in leaving class to go, and they never use their lockers. Your proposal increases distances. Can you explain how this is a good idea?
And bathrooms. This is interesting because the student brought up the same question, that they don't have time to go to the bathrooms. I'm hoping that if we can increase the stairwells and spread out the students, that things move faster. Right now, they're just in the corridors and they can't get through them. So that's part of the issue. Certainly, some of it's operational. We talked about should we have a 9th grade wing that would, isolate those kids and therefore cut down on traffic. So I think there are a lot of operational things we looked at. I don't have an easy answer to this one. Basically, it's the size of the campus and getting from one end to the other. I'm not sure that putting this classroom addition on that end is that much farther. It still is a long campus. So I don't really have a good answer to that.
Does your proposal put faculty and students together in the parking garage?
Again, that's a programming issue, but yes, we would do that, and there would be an area designated for faculty and an area designated for students.
All the repeat questions. There are 500 signatures opposed to expansion. Do you have a corresponding number of responses in favor?
Again, I think that might be more of a question for the CAC at this point.
I don't have an answer for that.
Neither do we.
I'm not sure if that's a CAC answer either. Another question about the cyclical nature of the U.S. economy and why would we assume that rents are always going to be high or housing remain at higher levels, in fact, thus directly impacting lakeside enrollment? Are we going to be dealing with this again in 7 years?
Again, we will be evaluating our forecasts every year. It's been 3 years since we last reviewed our long-term 7-year forecast, and we'll be looking at this from this year forward on an annual basis every year at this time. So it'll be something we'll be monitoring moving forward.
If Lakeside were to become a charter high school, would the governing board have the authority to overrule DeKalb County and the board on the decision to expand Lakeside?
If Lakeside were to become a charter school, would not be a startup charter in the same logos in the conversion charter. As a conversion charter, its responsibility is still, or the Board of Education is still the governing body, unlike a startup charter where it has its own board as a governing body. So our Board of Education would still be the governing body if Lakeside were to convert to conversion charter.
And in fact, we have a CAC right now with Chamblee Charter High School. It's a 30 classroom addition, very similar to this, and they have the same CAC powers, same purposes, the same everything at the school. So really, we wouldn't be much different.
What scientifically sound planning studies have been done to assess the Lakeside physical site? What is the impact of the Dewberry report?
So the Dewberry report was something that was commissioned by the county. If I remember correctly, it did find that the stormwater retention that was implemented for the 2012 edition was adequate and that was not impactful to the flow. I never did see a full copy of the Dewberry report, so I'm not sure what all the recommendations were, but I know it was a full basin study. The school was just a small contributing part to that, so there's not really a lot of impact that the school would have with that.
May we see by a show of hands, how many of you would still vote for expansion if that vote were held today? Is everyone, how many of you would vote for expansion? If you want to raise your hand. This plan? Renovating existing structures with the 17 classroom new expansion.
How many would oppose?
I'm not sure that we have enough information yet.
Unless we know what the alternatives are,
Yeah, well, I guess the alternative would be no expansion and redistricting, or using the money to renovate Lakeside and staying overcrowded at this point.
I'd like for the entire school district to be redistricted, as it's been done in over 40 years.
Okay, back to more questions. Is this feasibility study a part of all DeKalb County addition projects, or is it something you need for Lakeside?
It's something that we do for all projects, but we took our time and made sure that it looked at the issues that we heard from the CAC as we addressed it early on and made sure we got all that input and made sure that Perkins will included all of that, all those concerns, and we try to address all those concerns in this version of this piece of bill. So.
Is DeKalb County Schools willing to cap enrollment at 2,000 and not avoid future overcrowding
Again, those are the powers that we don't have. We do not have the ability to cap enrollment at any of our neighborhood schools. We have to serve all of our students.
In regards to security, what is the status of Hero 911 at Lakeside?
Well, I know that public safety is working on that app. I had a communication earlier this year with Chief Gober to get a status update. We're trying to support Lakeside and allow this program and intervention to be utilized, but we're still analyzing it. And it's not off the table by any means. We're still in the planning process right now.
Barbara, this is probably for you. What are proposed construction start and end dates? I think you went over that, but if you can just remind us.
We don't really have, tonight's determine what the start date is. But basically, we sort of talked about it's a three-year from when we start till you get in the building. And it just depends if we start tomorrow, it's 3 years from tomorrow by the time you do all of the design, construction, permitting, everything else. So in terms of that, the duration is when we get started.
Will lockers be a part of this proposed renovation? So many students are unable to use a locker due to excessive crowding in the halls and too little time to move across campus.
We certainly will include lockers in the new building if students are using them. There's some question about students, whether they want to use them or not, and I would do a survey to the students and see how many really do want to use lockers and see where we end up. But we certainly would put them in the new building.
Will Lakeside receive a staff security desk similar to Henderson Middle as part of this renovation? What sight lines from the main attendance office to the hallway will be improved?
So the first part of the question is around additional security.
Staff security desk, like the one at Henderson Middle School?
We did, interesting enough, we did recently talk about renovating the front office so we could change the sight lines and make it more secure. So I think that also would be part of this work. We definitely want to deal with the security issues because we've heard that from the students, from the faculty, and from the CAC. So any place where we can improve that as part of the project.
Well, while you're there, will fire suppression systems be added to the original campus buildings during this project?
That is not part of the scope of this project. We have fire suppression systems that are needed throughout all of our schools. Many of our elementary schools don't have any at all, and we have a SPLOS priority system, priority list of projects, and Lakeside High School is not on that list. But it's definitely something we are looking at, working with Chief Cox and the Fire Marshal's office to get fire suppression in all of our schools.
A question, I think most of us are not opposed to the expansion, just on its effect on traffic. Who has the power to cap enrollment for a DeKalb County school?
No one that I know of that has that power.
Who opposed redistricting? It was the Lakeside Cluster Summit, correct? Is that where you got the opposition?
That's correct, the Lakeside Cluster Summit.
I'm concerned about the declining ranking of Lakeside overall. How would the expansion give us any improvement in quality?
Again, that goes back to that earlier question I had. I'd have to sort of give you specifics about what the declines are being mentioned here and what's being seen. Again, we're not seeing those declines. We're seeing, like I said before, graduation rates are improving over a 3-year period, improving some test scores. student engagement programs, initiatives are designed to provide not just academic and athletic supports to students, but also to wraparound services and supports to help students reach that goal of graduating and create a college-bound culture, I think is what is being identified as the matter. So we would probably need more specificity on what was being applied by the client.
Why won't DeKalb consider repurposing Sequoia? With enrollment going down, current students could be accommodated at HMS and Cross Keys Middle much more cheaply than adding 3 new additions at Dunwoody, Chamblee, and Lakeside.
We would not have enough capacity for the Chamblee cluster if we were to repurpose Sequoia Middle School. As part of the major redistricting between Cross Keys and Chamblee 2 years from now, with all the schools and the additions opening up, we would need Sequoia Middle School to serve as one of the 2 middle schools in the Chamblee cluster, Sequoia and Chamblee.
How does the county determine whether or not to build a new school versus piecing together new parts, new additions, like the one at Lakeside? I can't read some of it. So I guess essentially, how do you decide not to build a new school or to add on to existing?
We did an entire public engagement process of the secondary school feasibility study to look at that very question, which is, do we build new schools with different options, where we build 2 schools or won't we have 1 school, various options, and it was a combination of cost, feasibility, that is buying land, as well as the public input that we heard throughout the process. So that is the process we used 3 years ago to make those decisions for this lot spot. Yes.
How many students have Perkins and Will staff met with to discuss the challenges of the stakeholders face at Lakeside on a daily basis, and how are those students selected? What student challenges do Perkins and Will select on which to focus?
We met with a group of students that Principal Bounds set up for us. I think there were 20 to 30 students, and most of them were class leaders. They were either student body leaders or officers of the class. 9th grade all the way through 12th grade, boys, girls, good mix of kids. And we gave them a survey, and I also left the survey if they wanted to spread it to anybody else. I said, you know, spread this around to Dr. Brown. Ms. Brown has the survey, we can take any number of kids and ask them questions. And they were mostly qualitative questions about where they like to be in the school best, where they study best, what they do in the morning. Many of the kids said they really didn't find a place to be in the morning. And there was lots of conversation about what a learning center or learning commons could be, and kids who really would study there, and the opportunities for computers, access, and places they could come in the morning, places they could come after school and study. So a lot of that was student driven. So we could certainly reach out to more students if necessary.
What will be the effect on the nearby wetlands? Maybe we've addressed this already, but
The intent would be to have no effect on the nearby wetlands. That would be, the civil engineer would design a storm water retention system if needed to, basically, there wouldn't be an impact on the wetlands. It behooves us to not get near those wetlands, because that opens up a whole can of worms for the state. I would make a comment on the feasibility study as far as there's some questions about engineering wise. I know that as a civil engineer, use his professional opinion, but he takes the new survey data with capacity, the stormwater and sanitary into account. We have he submits something to CAP Watershed, which they approved the proposed old number of addition, 38 I use, and then the CAP Watershed has a sanitary capacity. So those are the kind of things that the feasibility study that we did in the background for the feasibility study, as well as meet with the fire plan reviewers to review site access for fire trucks and emergency response.
athletics. There have been numerous speakers on the importance of athletics and the embarrassing conditions our students experience: weight room, pool, fields, locker rooms. If none of these areas are involved in the project and the programs continue to decline, what can we do?
Well, when we talk about discuss the concerns around Lakeside Athletics. And I actually have a meeting with the Director of Athletics coming up right before the winter break to discuss those. And really, to be bluntly honest, the concerns that are noted in that presentation are concerns for all of our programs across the district. So we'll be meeting with athletics to share those concerns and see if there's possible resolutions and solutions that we can come up with to help support our schools, our student programs, our booster clubs that spend a large amount of time supporting the students in their endeavors.
And I'll say this, athletics has been an issue as far as facility conditions of our athletic facilities has been an issue since the beginning of SPLOST 4. When we were developing the program for SPLOST 4, there was a program of doing athletic fields at the high schools. That got cut at the last minute by the board at that time. And then in SPLOST 5, we actually, for the first time in a long time, actually put in the turf in our fields at all of our high schools for the first time, artificial turf. And so I think it's one thing that athletic field improvements at Lakeside and other schools need to be looked at, needs to be emphasized throughout our process, and we need to be able to find some additional dollars to work through all of the backlog of athletic facility improvements that are needed.
Okay, we're going to do a few more questions here, and then we're going to wrap up. One is for the CAC. What are we doing to ensure that all Lakeside feeder school voices are being communicated and heard, including non-English speaking families? I can speak to that a little bit. But right now, we're publishing our meeting times through the school website and the PTSA newsletter. We do need to do a better job of publishing those in Spanish. And of course, if somebody has feedback and suggestions on how to reach out to those communities, they are more difficult to reach. They generally don't sign up for PTSA newsletter and that kind of thing. We would appreciate hearing those because they're very much important parts of constituents to this whole process. So the Lakeside CAC email is a great place to send us suggestions. The Lakeside Cluster Summit came to no consensus on a solution, but did identify several requests if the expansion went forward. How will you honor those?
You know that one of the concerns in the Lakeside Cluster Summit that was pointed out had to do with facility needs. As Mr. Gregg has pointed out, we recognize those needs. The superintendent and board also direct administration to respond to those needs and do everything that they can to help support our schools, not just in Lakeside, but all of our schools that have these operational concerns. So we are looking at that. It's certainly not part, as Dan pointed out, part of the SPLOST project, but it is something that we are analyzing and seeing what we can do to hopefully address all those needs for some of our aging buildings.
At Lakeside, do we know the percentage of students that live in our own occupied home versus a rental?
We know the number of students that live in single family versus townhome versus condo versus apartments. We do know that. The tricky part is knowing how many rentals in townhomes and single families. So we don't have as good of a number on that right now, but we do know by the housing type.
And is private school enrollment increasing while Lakeside's is declining?
I'm sorry, can you ask that question again?
Is private school enrollment increasing while Lakeside student attendance and enrollment is declining?
I will have to look specifically at that for Lakeside High School and get back to you on that one.
Another parking deck question. Do you have a plan for how cars will get out of there in a timely manner?
Again, we have not done that yet. We will, as I said, we have a parking consultant, and we will show you the parking deck plans long before it's ever built, so you can review it.
All right, thank you. I want to thank all of you for coming tonight and answering this very massive pile of questions. And we tried to do our best to put as many together that we're all on the same team. And we will keep every single question we have in front of us, and we will give them to you, and you can answer them, and we will put them together in a document so that everyone, and there's more, will get their question answered Again, I appreciate everybody coming out and taking their time in this horrible night. It speaks to the commitment that people who live in the Lakeside cluster have to the school and the heart of the people that go here. We care about this community, we care about the school, we care about our kids, care about the education they're getting. So thank you for coming, thank you for caring. We are the CAC. Please talk to us and tell us what else is on your mind. It's going to be a long process. We're going to be here for a long time. So thank you again, everyone, and have a great night.